Hang on. It's not real till the music starts.
It's time to grab the bull by the horns.
Do do ba do ba do be ba ba do. Here we go. It's Thursday. It's beer and bullshit. Your favorite YouTube broadcasted podcast about beer. I'm your host Ben Johnson. Giving me fun looks through Zoom is guest co-host Chris Schryer. Chris, thanks for
He
being on
made
the show.
he made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
We are running out of time here. We record our intros after the actual interviews. If you listen to the show, you already know that. So Chris, we are up against the wall. Chris's countdown is on for the edible that he took before we
Yeah,
started. So we,
yeah.
we don't have much time. I can tell by his face.
It's
Uh,
starting now, so yeah,
how have you been, man? I feel like
yeah. It's
you've
been
been on
really
the show. You
really
might be the
snowy.
number one guest on the show now. I think this might be it for you.
I think I'm Tom Hanks as to SNL I am to Beer and Bullshit.
I was gonna say John Goodman, but Tom Hanks works too, I think.
Yeah, Tom Hanks is like 10, I think.
Okay. Well, you're the Tom Hanks. Well, you're co-hosting. You're not a guest. You're a co-host.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I
Yeah.
appreciate
You're
that.
different. You're a different tier at this point.
Does that mean I get a
Uh,
hat?
if you can steal Mary Beth's, sorry, just Mare's hat from her son. I bet her sons have
Oh, well,
taken her beer and bullshit hat.
I mean, that would be terrible. Anyway, we've got a thing to record, don't we?
We're recording it right now. This is it.
I know, but I meant we should
Oh, really?
I
Well,
don't,
how'd
I
it
mean,
go?
I'm happy to sit here and talk.
What I think we should take some time to talk about Spent Grain, the zine.
Oh, okay.
I did give it a little love on the last podcast
I
because I
know,
have
I
a
listened and I
featured
appreciate it.
author.
I
Uh,
believe you mentioned it in the past two podcasts.
it's really cool because I love giving away my writing for free, and you give me a venue to do that.
You know, when I asked Jordan St. John, I told him I would make the same offer to him that Ronnie Hawkins made to Robbie Robertson, and he said, "Well, the money ain't great and the hours are long, but you'll get more pussy than Frank Sinatra."
Said no one about beer media ever. Oh, God,
Yeah, I don't. Is that even appropriate to say? That might have been off out of line.
you're
I wouldn't
fucked.
say that
You're
on my.
canceled.
I wouldn't
You're
say that on my
canceled.
podcast.
No, I remember I was talking to Dan Grant once and made a similarly off-colored joke. I don't think I think we just met, and he said something like, "Why did you get into beer writing?" I'm like, "The same reason everyone does, all the pussy." And and he spit out his beer. Uh,
Uh,
yeah, we're both getting canceled, so I'm jumping in the cancellation boat with you with that
let's
mentality.
go.
It's not a cool thing we do, but we are on the internet. Um, so spent grains. Do
The
you think a
zine.
lot are a lot of breweries printing that thing off? You think and spreading it around the tap room?
I don't know. Certainly nobody's told me, pardon me, than our good friend of the pod, Kevin Freer
Kevin
at Block
Freer.
3.
God bless
Yeah,
Kevin
so
Freer.
he has for sure. And then I actually had the local print shop there do up an even Baker's 40 and I've
Rented a
handed them.
biplane and just
It
dropped
just
some
it was like a
leaflet
ticker it was
stuff.
like a ticker tape parade.
I was
No,
thinking Nazi propaganda, but the ticker tape is probably a nicer way to say
Now, I
it.
don't know what your listenership is like, and I don't know if they know where I live. So I'm a little worried about saying this, but I've
Okay.
dropped it to all the breweries in my neighborhood that I like.
Okay. Well, there you go. So if you didn't get one and you live near Chris,
It's you.
now you know why he doesn't come in like he used to.
You know what's funny? I do go in.
Do you still
So
go to the ones you don't like?
it's a not infrequent post rugby beer. So
Oh, okay. Okay. But do you get any feedback? I mean, honestly,
I've had
maybe
none
that
other
and does
than
that not
Kevin.
doesn't that haunt you?
No, I
Oh,
like it.
that's why I do this. I need to check those
The
likes and
gratification.
clicks and
I do it to hear myself.
okay. Well, that's
Yeah,
fair too.
yeah.
We have had an interesting show. We've already done it,
Yes, we
so
have.
we can lead the witness a little bit.
I
We are
could see
talking.
writing about that business in spent grants.
I'm gonna give it some time. So we met with
I mean, in a few months. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, yes. Oh my gosh, I don't have his last name handy. This is terrible. It'll be in the description of this podcast. But we went with Oberon, aka Obie, and Ania of the Canadian Brewing Awards. The Obie is the owner of the Canadian Brewing Awards, and Ania runs them. And that was our impetus for the conversation tonight. Let's learn more about the new direction of the Canadian Brewing Awards. And it went in a few different directions instead. Obie has lofty ambitions for the craft beer landscape, uh, which I think we kind of started to understand by the end of the conversation. I was definitely confused at
Hmm.
first. Were you also confused at first?
Very. But I do think I understood at the end.
Yes, we come around to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of the I don't know some of the troubles I would associate with not being a beer person and coming in with big ideas. I'm not trying to be disparaging. I think it's difficult to come into this industry as someone who's not been involved with it for a long time. Like this,
It's a very fraternal industry.
that's right. Uh, and whether or not he's experiencing those struggles weren't clear to me. He definitely wants to do fun new things, and
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fun to watch him do those things.
Yep.
Uh,
I had a ball.
at the end of the video, at the end, well, it's a video now, but at the end of this recording, we went off camera to get a sneak preview, which we'll never tell you about. We are
No,
sworn to secrecy. Uh,
I wouldn't if you forced me.
I couldn't.
That's what I meant to say.
All right. Anyway, it was a fun chat, and I'm glad you jumped in, Chris, to co-host
I'm
tonight.
so
Thank you.
glad. Oh,
You're going to bed scratching your head. Anyway,
spoilers, man. Spoilers.
you're not have you having tea and a cookie tonight? Is that your vibe?
Yeah, I drank an herbal tea and ate a weed cookie that I made on the weekend.
So we're doing no beers on Tuesdays, or are we doing? Is this just
Trying, yeah, I'm trying.
okay? Well, I'm gonna give some love to an Italian Pilsner made right here in London, uh,
Oh,
Powerhouse Brewery, and London Brewing. Made a collab Italian Pils. It's a little more on the sweeter and maltier side for an Italian Pils, but I bought 12 as soon as I heard two London breweries and Italian Pilsner, so I'm enjoying it.
I do have, I'll say some nice words about. That's a Carmageddon from Great Lakes.
Oh wow.
Got that at the weekend, had a couple. So this is the real deal. Double IPA, 8.1%. Um, do you remember double IPAs?
Yeah, I sure do.
It's one of them. I
It's
liked
been
it.
a
It
while
was really
since I
good.
had one. Like I
Yeah.
had I had a late night lone pine the other day and it kind of knocked me on my ass. I'm like,
Even that, or like sometimes I'll still grab a bone shaker at the grocery store, and it's the
yeah.
same deal. Like I actually have a mental cutoff where I'm like, if it's after 9, no more bone shakers.
Yeah.
It's just that it does not end well.
I bet you're in the top tier of bone shaker consumption too. I think you're a big
D-
Amsterdam guy
Big
back in the
Amsterdam
day.
guy. I
Yeah.
still very, very, very much enjoy their products
Yeah.
and also Ian and Cody. So that's
So,
no, but I was gonna say I don't know if it's still the case,
hmm
but I want to say around 20 like 15 or so when they started dropping in those real big fermenters at Sander,
hmm
they were all for Bone Shaker. They sold more Bone Shaker than any other brand for like a very long period of time.
Yeah, bone shaker more than blonde? No
Yeah,
way.
and more than 3 Speed. It was their
Wow.
number one brand for like multiple years.
Can you get bone shaker in the big huge cans that they sell now?
You
Probably.
have to, and that's the problem. They're going to be
Like
like, what are
really?
those, like 620s or something like that? It's
Of
so
bone
much
shaker?
beer. Yeah.
That is oh man, that's dangerous. I remember there was an event called the Indie Boat Hop, which was indie.
Yeah. I didn't go on that, and I've regretted.
But we obviously you're out on a boat and drinking a lot. Ian was there, and I started a rumor across the boat that the cruise was going to end at a Amsterdam for free pictures of Bone Shaker, and Ian was so angry. I was like, yeah, we're all going for free pictures of Bone Shaker. Anyway, didn't enjoy that. Okay, but I did. Okay, so back to circle. Let's circle to awards, and then we'll kick it over to our interview tonight. But
Oh
uh,
yeah, I forgot that this is still the intro.
Yeah, no, and this is the intro. This is how we do on this show.
Cookie's definitely cooking now.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah,
I'll leave you to it. You can go watch some cartoons or something soon. But
I'm gonna
I reached
stretch.
out. I reached out. I tried to touch on this in the interview a bit, but I reached out to a lot of craft brewery owners that I'm friendly with, just to be like, what are your thoughts on the CBAs? And it was almost uniformly no comment. Like no one wanted to say a single thing on the record. I don't know what that means.
Hmm.
I don't know if they're just like, nah, I'm over awards, or like there's, I don't know, but a usually vocal contingent that I would tap for quotes was just like, meh, not interested in weighing in. So read into that
That's
what you
wild.
may.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, with that intrigue built, here's our interview with Obie and Ania. Enjoy. Sweet. It's happening. So welcome to the show. If it's your first time listening, Chris isn't usually my co-host, but he has been my co-host a lot. I have a co-host named Chris Pellerin, and he's got a lot of fans called the Pellheads, but he's semi-retired. So Chris Schryer of Toronto Beer Podcast and Toronto Beer Blog fame before that is
My
my
man,
occasion.
spent grains. Get with
Oh,
the
and of course, the new
times.
Spent Grains zine available in all brewery, all your finer beer establishments.
Any brewery that has an inkjet printer might have the zine.
Do you guys want to introduce yourselves? Because I mean, I just met you, Obi, and Anya. I've been saying your name wrong for months, so you guys go.
Unbelievable. Obie, you go first.
Me first. Okay, well, my name is Obie, and I run the Beer Awards platform. I run Canadian Brewing Awards. I also run Ontario Brewing Awards, and I'm the founder of a new project that we haven't really announced yet, but I guess we're doing it here first, called bestbeer.com. So
Sweet, we got an
that's
exclusive.
on my end.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys got the exclusive. Other than, a few of our influencers, as you guys already talked about on your previous podcast.
Yes, we
But
did. We'll
yeah,
get into
I
that.
think this is the first. Yeah, go ahead, Anya.
Well, my resume isn't as exciting. My name is Anya, and I'm the competition organizer. I organize judging and the galas for Ontario Brewing Awards and Canadian Brewing Awards, talking to judges, talking to breweries, making sure that everything runs smoothly. So yeah.
Cool. Well, it's very nice to meet you guys. And as is often the case, I think you guys reached out to me because I was talking shit about something that you care about. And you're like, hey, let us come on the show and defend ourselves. That's how I get guests now. It's basically I'm a troll.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
That's your top of funnel.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
No, it was honestly, it's not really your fault because um we don't really put a lot about us out there. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of fair for people to speculate about things. And my biggest motivation was just to make sure that the people that are supporting us, they don't feel bad about doing so, because there's a yeah, it's a real mission that we're on, and it's not, we'll get into it, but it's something that our team is actually pretty passionate about. So that
So
was
how
our
did you
main.
guys get it? You're right. You're like, I was like, what's people are like, what's going on with the Canadian Brewing Awards? Because like historically, Chris and I have been around a while. We know these awards as a Rob Engman thing. Like Rob Engman owned the CBAs and the OBAs and obviously Taps Magazine and Sawdust City Brewery. So that, how did it end up with you guys?
Yeah, it was kind of on the floor, and we just kind of picked it up. That's kind of how it went. But yeah, it was that's a bit of a long story, and I think anybody in the industry, like, they kind of know somewhat of what probably led to his retirement. But yeah, there's no secrets in the space. Like, Rob's actually my grandfather, so uh, there was a planned transition. He had a planned transition out of the space that didn't really work out, and he talked to me about taking it over, and I was really nervous at first. I'm not necessarily a beer guy, and we sat down, we had many discussions about it, and I decided after that, I think it's something that we can do, and I have a vision for what we can accomplish. So yeah, but I assume you guys might have already known that, or you didn't.
I had some inclination. I just wanted to hear you say it. Yeah.
Right.
I knew
Okay.
you're I knew it was with Rob's grandson. I just was like I didn't want to make assumptions, but you know, I've heard
Of
rumors.
course.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't
Some
know.
people think Anya's the granddaughter, actually, because
Oh,
there's
okay.
more
I
of
am
a,
blonde, he's blonde. It's easy to make
yeah, there's more of
Right,
a
assumptions.
visual
right.
resemblance.
No, I had heard grandson, so I at least had the gender right.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
you never know. Yeah.
Yes, I shouldn't assume anyone's gender. You're right. It's 2025. Um, so okay, so that's an interesting segue. Like you're not a beer guy, but I mean this is pretty beer focused. This is literally becoming the authority on like these are the best beers in Canada. So that's I mean,
Yeah.
is that daunting? How do you go about making sure I mean this you guys are probably aware of my beefs with beer awards generally in the sense that it's like I think of them as a very nice marketing expense sometimes. Like only those who enter are judged, right? You have to be in it to win it. And so is it ever truly a contest of best? And I think those who enter, they get the award and you get to put it on a can and hopefully sell a few extra beers. So
Right.
that's my cynical take. We'll get that out of the way first.
Well, we can talk about that actually,
Sure.
because that's why I felt comfortable taking on the task of kind of innovating the CBAs, because I kind of agree with those sentiments. I mean, maybe you would think I'd come on here and be like, "Hey, you know what? It's like the best thing ever," but that's not why I got into it. I got into it because there's actually a lot of things that are wrong with it, and
Hmm.
I don't think a lot of people are necessarily going to fix it, and that's why I was interested in it. And there's we'll get into it further, but I think a lot of the challenges that the space is facing is relevance with the younger crowd,
Hmm.
and also with you know technology. I mean, the biggest thing I didn't understand about the awards, and I talked to my grandfather about it quite a bit, was so people send in their beers and they spend a lot of money to do so, and there will be three medal winners that might not even be in the local market. There's 50 categories that consumers might not even understand, and there's this Untappd app that's massive, that's making all this money, like $30 million, and they don't even put the medals on there. Like, is that what is happening? Like, I don't understand what's so. Yeah, I mean, that was my first question, which I think aligns with your viewpoints. So
Yeah. Yeah. So what are you here to clean up? Like what were your first like, okay, we got to get rid of this. Like what's changed?
yeah, so okay, this was my challenge actually, because I there's so much that we changed, and it's really hard to communicate all of it, especially in a space that is so used to things kind of staying the same.
Hmm.
The first thing that I wanted to change was I wanted for things to be more consumer relevant. So the biggest thing that I found with the awards is that the real big missed opportunity is that, okay, you have all these beers that are true to style, okay, and you can use that to bridge consumer relevance by fixing the Untappd issue where you have people that don't like a style rating beers. We can now get influencers and consumers trying beers, and then pretty quickly we can get an accurate understanding of their taste profile. And then when they go to rate other beers in the future, we know not what not to recommend, but also which reviews on a from a public standpoint we could be ignoring. So that's that's where I saw a huge opportunity with the award space. So that's the first thing. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're trying to I'm guessing this is where we're headed with best beer, but it sounds like you're pivoting to more of a consumer facing recommendation reviews sort of a format.
Yeah, and also with a strong focus on the Canadian market, where I don't know if the numbers are accurate, but if Untappd is making $30 million, then I mean we could build out a really cool awards business here by not even necessarily charging breweries in Canada as much. Like if we build a really cool technical ecosystem, we can license it to the rest of the planet, and then breweries in Canada can have almost like a free competition. I mean, that's the grand vision, is that it's not just pay to enter and then only the people that pay to enter kind of, those are the ones that win. It's we can start subsidizing a lot of the costs of entries, and you can, if you go to our website, you'll see that as breweries enter more, they start to pay less, and on top of that, we're going to be giving a tech ecosystem for free as part of breweries participation this year.
Is that the tech side? So it's like an app? Is it a similar thing to like a user-based rating system? Is there some aspect of like tying in professionals that would be, say, like judging? I say professionals, they're not getting paid, but people who have, established credentials, say. Like I don't know if I'm making a lot of sense here. The first question is it like a user-based rating system? And then if it is there some aspect where you're going to be including the fact that you have access to the results of a national beer contest?
Yeah, so we will incorporate user reviews, but it'll be done like after we have an accurate understanding of your taste profile. And we are indeed that technology and piloted it with some experts that really could tell us if our recommendations and our description of their palate is accurate. And once we have that, then we know what you're not necessarily supposed to like. And once we know that, then all of your future reviews won't impact the public rating of a beer that you weren't gonna like anyway. So that would be the idea, but we would still have reviews that are from experts. And so we do have ideas, lots of ideas going around. We're still figuring it out. Like I don't want to come on here and pretend like this is a polished project and it's all done. It's we've done some work that we think is great, but there's still a lot to do, and we're testing it all out with our early adopters.
So it sounds like we're leaning into like user tastes and like what is, I don't want to say popular, but like you keep saying consumer. Like to me, I think shouldn't a beer, like yes, of course you should update styles to go along with current taste, but like shouldn't anything that's like a judge of what's best be judged by like experienced critics? Like if you put it
Yeah,
to
yeah.
public, you're
We're
basically hosting a People's Choice Awards or something if you make it a sort of a
No,
public.
no. So sorry, I don't know if I explained that properly. We still have expert judges. In fact, we have some of the best judges. I believe this year our judges are better than they've ever been
Ever.
historically. Yeah,
Yeah.
ever. Like we have like really, really good judges. Maybe you bleep this part out if it doesn't necessarily pan out, but Stephen Beaumont will be joining us as a head judge to uh, launch some of our new innovations. We got like you can see our judges on our site, but we're trying to get an official partnership going with Prud'homme, and it's we're doing a lot on we value expert opinions. That's I'm not CVAs isn't now going to be random consumers coming in deciding what's
Right,
a gold
right.
medal, NEPA, for example. That's not what direction we're going in. It's just more like we still need to factor in the consumer opinion if we're going to have a consumer facing app, but it's mostly going to be in the capacity of helping you understand your own palate and use the expert reviews and tasting notes to kind of help the consumers navigate that. Because sometimes you'll have a beer that's marketed as a certain category that's good from a marketing standpoint, but the experts can tell us what's the true category. So if you don't have that detail, it doesn't really work. Where if I try this beer that's marketed incorrectly and I don't like it, we shouldn't be updating that consumer's taste profile to say that they don't like that. We can know what the true category is based on our judging. So it's using Canadian Brewing Awards as sort of a data extraction, um, you know, data extraction component, and then we build out a tech ecosystem in conjunction with it that serves as a consumer education component on their palettes, and also a real marketing tool rather than just posting the winners on a website that I don't think consumers really even know what, Canadian Brewing Awards is to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's yeah.
I'm still trying to wrap my brain around what it looks like. I mean, I think I like is Chris is like, is it an app? Is it a website? Like, I feel like I just had an edible because you keep saying tech ecosystem. I'm like, what is it though? Like, is that what best beer is going to be? Like, are you
Yeah.
like, am I logging in and it's like, oh, Ben's here. There's new beers based on his profile. We know he might like this one. He won't like this one. Like, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to be
Okay,
launching it publicly at the gala, but Ben, I
cool.
would love to have you as an early adopter, because what I'm doing is kind of a ridiculous idea. It's I'm buying like the best beers. I'm buying the best beers from all the Canadian breweries. That's my game plan. Like, and I'm giving them away to anybody that's promoting local and promoting local craft. Because the thing is, everyone's saying like support local, right? But
Hmm.
I don't think that that's actionable. So we wanted to do something that's actionable, where it's like, if you go to a brewery, if you're on my list, you show your badge QR, they're gonna scan you, and you're gonna get a free beer. So that's like a campaign we're gonna be launching. This is another exclusive that you guys are getting, but yeah, that's why influencers are kind of talking a lot about the awards, because I think they've kind of been like, everyone that's promoting craft and even the experts, like you touched on it earlier, they're kind of like doing this stuff for free. They're not really getting much value out of it. There's no ecosystem to give back to them. Of course, breweries send, free stuff at times, but
Yeah.
I think
You know,
it's
this
yeah.
is the old double-edged sword. And like Chris and I have been writing about beer, I mean, since 2012, 20, longer for Chris, 2011, 2010. But like, you do it out of love. Like, we started blogs for free because we were just like out there doing it and there was no one else really doing it. And then you get to a certain point where you're like getting paid once in a while. And then I think you get to think like, why am I giving it away for free? So it's difficult because there's nowhere else. Did Obi just leave?
No,
Did he?
sorry. I was just
Okay, okay.
it's
He's still
quite
here.
chilly, so I'm just
Okay.
warming up. Yeah, yeah, I'm here.
No, anyways, I think you're right. It's difficult. And part of it is like the balance of like, you get to a point where you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you because it's like and I don't care about this anymore, but back in the day it was like, if you want to continue access, you have to be friendly. But if you're too friendly, then who gives a fuck what you have to say about anything because you're just kissing ass for free stuff and access. So it's like this weird dynamic that bloggers and influencers had, and I think Instagram kicked that into like, high gear, like beyond like 1,000 times. It was all of a sudden like, send this person free beer, they'll take a picture of it and share your beer for free to 10,000 people. Whereas it used to be like, send Jordan St. John your beer. If he likes it, he may write 2,000 words about it on his blog, and you're kind of rolling the dice. But it's a different world now. And but my one philosophy about it has always just been, just disclose. That's it. Just disclose where you got it. If you got something for free, just let people know.
Right. Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't listen to the full podcast. I kind of threw it
It's
into a
okay. No
little
one does. An hour is a long time.
No one does.
yeah, I threw in a little AI tool, got the summary for the bits that I felt like would be talked about. And I think the biggest thing is like, you have, okay, I understand a lot of people believe that Canadian Brewing Awards is pay to win. And I think to some aspect, there's some truth to that, because not all, you know, beers in Canada go through it. But we are the most entered, and in a lot of these categories, it is very competitive.
Hmm.
And I think there's nothing wrong with our influencers kind of promoting Canadian Brewing Awards, because they're promoting the best of the craft. I mean, there's a lot of work for us to do in terms of getting, greater participation through subsidization and otherwise. But yeah, I understand. I understand the
I don't
criticism.
fault
I
you guys.
understand both
Listen, for you
sides.
guys, it's essentially free marketing. I think anyone who doesn't give free beer to influencers is not doing their job. Like, why wouldn't you, as a brewery owner, send free beer to a handful of influencers? It's worth it. It's the cost of beer. I get
Right.
it, and I get why you guys are trying to get influencers to talk about your new thing. I'm just saying, as a critic or an influencer, whatever you want to be, you just have to disclose that you got it for free. You can shit on it. Like, you could send someone a free beer and be like, hey, I got this for free from Sawdust City. I love Sawdust City. I'm just picking on them. But it's a garbage beer. Or like, I got this beer for free and I love it. As long as you're just saying how you got it, otherwise your credibility is out the window. As a company trying to get the word out, there's no cheaper way for you as an organizer to advertise it. I don't have any issues with you guys saying post about us 7 times and you could get something. That makes sense to me. I just think as long as everyone's above board, it's much better. Otherwise, credibility goes out the window.
But Ben, you're I understand the I totally understand the argument, but in this case it's I mean, we're gonna have a lot of influencers talking about us because we're gonna be giving everybody free shit. So like everyone's gonna have to disclose you're gonna get free shit from us. Everybody's getting free stuff because that's our whole mission is to get people that are promoting local. Like we're doing this. It's Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a sponsored podcast, but it's very clear you're doing it from the heart. And I think that there's got to be some entity that's kind of pushing and incentivizing more of that to happen. So
Yeah. I
it's
mean, if you're gonna be the guys giving away free shit, you're gonna be really popular.
yeah, it's that's kind of the what we want to go with. Like at our gala this year, the difference is for this year, and obviously this depends on. I don't know if you guys know about how entries work, but usually like 80% come in like last few days.
Hmm.
But depending on how our entries go, our idea for this year is to just fly out all the gold winners, lodge them, and make for the rest of it is make it a massive consumer event, like a private tasting with all the best beers in one place, unveil the app. Like that's kind of our game plan. And there's it's not like we're just telling influencers, hey, talk about our innovations so we can sell more beers. That's not how this happened. It happened when after Ontario Brewing Awards, I had a curiosity of how we can bridge awards to consumers, and I launched 3 additional events with those same beers, with the top 20 influencers, put them in front of them. They tried it out, and one of the influencers was like, "Dude, you haven't asked me for money once, and you just put on the best tasting event I've been to in an extremely long time." And I was like, "Yeah, because I don't even know if I can deliver value to you guys yet." And he's like, "Dude, you should be using us to like talk about what you're doing." And I talked to another brewery and they're like, you're doing all this stuff and nobody knows about it. And if nobody knows about it, nobody is going to enter Canadian Brewing Awards and nothing is going to change in the space. So a lot of people started actually pushing me to shamelessly promote, our brand more and take those opportunities because people aren't going to just magically find out about your product.
Yeah.
You can change whatever you want to change, but if you don't have a communication component, then there's no shot anyone's going to know about it and then buy anything. So
Yeah. That's marketing. I'm not faulting it. It makes sense to me.
Can I
Anya,
ask you a
is it?
question? Oh, sorry. And
Yeah.
actually,
Go.
Anya, this is actually kind of being a little bit more into your wheelhouse anyway, 'cause it's a little bit more around the awards themselves. Sorry, I'm playing with a clip. I need to put this down. Um, in terms of like the CBAs, like I remember back in the day when I was, a young old man, um, you would go to the events and they were fun because 80% of the people in the crowd were professionals, like they were the people who were entering. It
Mhm.
was really the vibe was really much more. It was like an industry celebration event.
Mhm.
Um, and the reason why I always understood that, and the reason why I kind of still understand, is because like the average person just doesn't give a fuck about what some pencil, necked beer geek who spends way too much time thinking about what they're drinking actually really cares. This is actually my axe that I grind harder. Like I know Ben's got other things with awards, and I don't necessarily disagree. But the thing that always gets to me is I'm still struggling to understand how you can make an award thing where most of the public has no concept, like even the criteria for winning. Like all they get is, oh, that one won. And it's like, oh, did you have it? Yeah. What'd you think? I don't know. Tasted like beer. Like is there a different approach? Or are you guys angling something, different?
Do you mean for this year?
Or going forward? I mean,
I
Well,
mean, I'm hoping that I'm understanding the question correctly. We still have our regular judging with our beer judges who have their style guidelines, and then they're gonna judge according to that. But this year we're also doing commercial judging, which is not using any technical jargon. Am I understanding your question correctly, by the way, or am I going completely off track?
I was giving you time because like you might have been working around. I meant more like how are we appealing to
Joe
people
Schmo.
people who aren't doing a podcast on a Tuesday night at 9 p.m. or make their entire living off of the industry.
How are we appealing to laymen, you mean?
Yeah.
Especially the young folk these days. I don't understand them with their Sigmas and their
That's a little too young. The Sigma Rizzlers don't drink yet.
right. I
you don't
think
know
he's
that.
asking Chris, if I'm understanding correctly, you're trying to understand how we're approaching bridging to consumers.
Yeah, and relevancy.
Yeah, and I think okay, I can probably take this one because Anya's wheelhouse is mostly Canadian Brewing Awards side. I'm mostly taking the lead on the Best Beer project, but so far, I think our approach has just been start with the early adopters, and there's a book that kind of talks about this where eventually you gotta have to cross the chasm where you gotta start bridging into your early majority and your late majority. And they call it crossing the chasm because you can appeal to the Tuesday night, you know, podcasters and competition organizers, uh, and you'll probably get a lot of early adopters on that side. But now, how do you bridge it into the early majority? And I think a lot of what we talked about internally has been things need to be gamified, and we have to take the risk out of trying craft beer. Like if you're gonna try craft beer and it's gonna be a drain pour, how do you avoid that experience? And I think it comes down to rewards and very accurate recommendations. And I think that, we're not going to give out our secret sauce, not saying that we have it figured out yet, but there is a trick to it. And we're very interested in, maybe in a follow-up session with you guys, we could kind of showcase our early findings and do like a private tasting with you guys and get your reaction on camera and maybe just show you instead of tell you. So,
Okay, but what I was asking about was the award show, right? Like
right.
I understand the
Oh,
point that you're
sorry.
talking about, but
Yeah, okay.
when
I
we're
just
talking
rambled
about
then for no reason.
the both actually Ontario and Canada, like I understand that you're gonna have an app or something, and like the hope is that you'll bring people in through exposure and education. But like
Right.
at the end of the day, the I even think it's a bit bullshit that people care about the Oscars because most of the people who care about the Oscars have no concept of how you make a movie, right? They're just
Right.
like, "Oh, I
Okay.
saw that movie and I liked it," right? Like the cinematography one gets handed out like the second one because they just know nobody's even tuned in yet, right? Oh, beer awards to me feel even more in the weeds. And so it's like it's cool that you guys have picked it up and you want to keep it alive. But if like we're talking about relevancy and like growing that market, like I just still don't see how you get it beyond anything more than pros and a couple of, let's be honest, bearded white guys.
Well, okay. So I guess I don't fully understand the question because I think Canadian Brewing Awards is going to be mostly that.
Yeah,
But we
I,
do,
I think Chris, maybe you misunderstood. I don't think there's any movement to change what that award ceremony is. It's still going to be
Um,
industry folks. Unless,
right.
sorry, Anya's like, actually, it's really cool.
sorry.
Yeah.
There are slight changes, which is we'll be bringing the consumer influencers to it, and then they would be telling their audiences, which are laymen who just love beer, and they're just following this person who talks about beer. And yeah, that's a small change this year, but
But
I
it's
think.
they're right though
Go
that
ahead.
it's still going to be mostly people that are already in the industry. It's not like, and also I think from a legal standpoint, we can't even make it a public event anyway.
No.
Right.
So it's no, you're right. It's going to be mostly, it's going to be probably 100% insiders, and we want that anyway. Like we don't really want to change that side.
Yeah.
Uh, we are experimenting with having best beer at festivals. So that's a part of our pilot program. We want the app to sit at every major touch point in the consumer experience. So yeah, from scanning cans to scanning menus, to searching stuff up at home. We want the app to sit at every or at festivals and events and so on. That's yeah. That I have answers as to how that can become mainstream. But Canadian Brewing
Yeah.
Awards, it's never going to be a household name as from a brand standpoint. That's why we invested in, bestbeer.com as the brand. That's something that people can understand. Okay, if I want to find the best beer, here's where I go. But they're not going to be going to CanadianBrewingAwards.com to figure that out.
But they might be following Hop Happy blog on Instagram.
They
Like
might be.
yeah, Anya, not just like I see what you're doing. We keep like kind of stepping over it. I understand you're trying to bring the Canadian Brewing Awards or at least awareness of them to beer fans that aren't quite as hardcore as the current audience, and I think that's about as that's I mean that's as good as it gets, right? Like I mean, they're following
Right.
beer nerds on Instagram. They obviously like beer, but you're right. We haven't really talked about the Canadian Brewing Awards much in the past few years because it has been so industry specific or geared towards either people that work in the industry or people that judge the industry. I don't think you're right. Even when this like maybe it would make the news when Greg Clow would post on the Canadian Beer News that like this beer from St. Thomas won gold, and then the St. Thomas paper would be like, we can write about this week. But yeah, you're not going to change that.
Yeah. And and so yeah, I mean our expectations I think are pretty well aligned with the realities of it, which is that nobody's gonna, Canadian Brewing Awards isn't gonna be, a household name. That's why we invested in a brand that we thought could. I mean,
Yes,
you have Untapped without an E, and everybody kind of knows that.
right.
And I don't know. I don't really get the product that much, and I don't really
It's easy.
understand
It's
it.
Pokemon, but it's for drunks. That's it.
Right. Right.
You got to catch them all. That's it. And you get badges when you drink a whole bunch of them.
That's a
Right.
good
Right.
one.
So yeah, I mean, would it?
So,
So I do have a question for you guys.
yeah, please.
What were your expectations? Seeing that we reached out to you guys after you guys were saying stuff, and what did you expect this conversation would go like? What's your take on it?
Thought it was going to be more about the awards show
Right.
because that's mostly what gets pissed on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but I'm interested to see I mean, your grandfather, it sounds so weird to say like he was like he's not that old to me. I'm like, I know, Rob, but there was like Taps Media, there was the Ontario Brewing Awards, there was the Canadian Brewing Awards. Like there was kind of like this beer media landscape happening. So it's interesting
Right.
to hear where you're taking that and then and what direction you're taking it. But no, I've had beefs with honestly, I think Rob stopped talking to me after a while because I was pretty open. Like, I don't think awards are that important. I think they're great as a night out for the breweries to be like, look, I've won fucking gold because I made a great beer, and that's important. But I also
Right.
think it's like pay to be in these awards. if you win one once in a while, you slap it on your can and you sell some more beers, and that's fine. But in a sense, I was kind of like, I've historically been like, meh. So I was interested to hear your take on awards generally and all the Best Buy stuff. Sorry, Best Beer, not Best Buy. This is interesting to me too because this is news for us. So I didn't have any expectations. Honestly, it was Tuesday and I needed a guest, and you guys were game, so let's do it.
Right. By the way, Ben, the old man's not really talking to me much either because I feel similarly. I'm like, look,
Okay.
these awards, they need to change. And he's like, you know, but people keep participating and they love them. But I think we kind of agree that there's a lot of new stuff that needs to happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's always
Well,
hard to go ahead.
my one question, Obi, is that this is an industry that's highly cynical. Uh, Having been around since 2012 when it was like craft beer in Ontario was booming, people kind of saw it as like a gold rush. It was like, let's invent something to make money off of craft beer. Like, let's pretend I have a brewery in Parkdale. Let's make a passport for craft beer. Like, all these little kind of like people smelled opportunity. So
Yeah,
now we're like hardened against like, what's this person's deal? Like, if you're
right,
not
right.
a beer person first, this industry kind of goes and like closes up on you. Like, if
Yeah,
you even if you like until recently, if you were a contract brewery, like if you didn't own a brewery, some of these brewers like get this fucking person out of here. They're just trying to make money off our thing. So it's interesting to me to hear that you're coming in as not a beer guy. You want to shake things up, and it does sound like you're throwing money around. Like all the things you listed sounded expensive. So I'm interested to learn, like, are you finding that there's a cynicism? Are the beer people receptive to you, or do you think that's been a tough battle for you?
well, I absolutely love that you're asking that question because, oh man, I'm gonna have to be politically correct with this
No,
one,
not
but
on this show. You don't have to be. Name names.
well,
Talk shit.
okay, if I'm gonna talk a little bit of shit, what I'm gonna say
Yeah,
is
get a
that,
beer in your hand. What's going on here? Come
well,
on.
I'm at a brewery. I had a
You are the
couple.
stone hooker. Come on.
So okay, look, I think that one of the problems with craft currently is that there is that attitude where if there's a new person, everyone kind of rejects them. Like, look, I'm an entrepreneur coming in, and I'm not stupid. I understand that this isn't the best time to be getting into all this stuff. But our team is doubling down. We have kind of like a Silicon Valley type hacker house that we all work and live out of. Anya can show a tour. Like we have the den is like one of our team members sleeps there, and then we also have it doubling as a studio. And I'm a tech guy. That's my background, and we have another tech guy on the team. Yeah, like if we're gonna build AI and all this tech stuff, we understand that the craft beer space isn't the best place to be doing it from a risk adjusted return standpoint. But that's also why our team felt like it's a good idea because there's a real challenge there and we have the opportunity to have a real impact where, some other spaces are a little bit more saturated with, opportunistic people. We wanted to, you know, talk to people that really cared about what they do and meet a lot of people that love what they do and feel like if we're doing something, it's going to really affect people positively. And we loved how craft beer brings people together. And as much as like there is kind of that, skepticism, I also agree with it because it is true that, a lot of people are making money off of breweries' backs. But, and I'm not trying to say that like we want to be a charity and we don't believe that there's money to be made. My whole idea is we build a lot of great stuff in Canada, export it to other countries, and we're more than happy to make money off of, you know, breweries in the States and otherwise. And there's nothing wrong with making money, but our idea isn't to make money off of Canadian breweries. Like that's not our end game. We're not gonna just run the awards and then, that's our living. So I don't know if that kind of explains our side.
Yeah, I was interested just to hear how breweries have received you. Like, I mean, you must have to connect with breweries or brewery officials, or maybe Anya's doing that as a representative of the Canadian.
No, there a lot of them are pretty rude to our team actually, and they think that because we're for profit, we're automatically evil. And
Right.
there's if there's a nonprofit that we're supporting instead, and all this stuff, and I mean, I get it, but honestly, I don't know if that's like the right approach. I do wish people took a little bit more time to, I mean, judge us based on merit rather than
Learn
just
more about us
yeah,
first.
like took some time to understand us because, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of people just kind of reject us without even knowing what's going on. But then at
Yeah.
the same time, there's some breweries that are just absolutely phenomenal. Like we've also have some ridiculous support from breweries as well. And
You can name them. You can say nice things about people. You don't have
like
to say.
okay,
Let's
so
do
I would
it.
say Muse, amazing. Uh Old Flame, amazing. Uh Sawdust, no, I'm kidding.
Concession Road,
Concession Road.
70 Acre.
Yeah, like there's a lot of I mean now Stone Hooker, like he also we were just talking very
You're
honestly. He's like,
sitting in
yeah,
Stone Hooker right now, right?
I am. And he's not a big awards fan.
Right.
He's not a big awards fan. And I told him like, you know what, that's fair. And he was kind of giving us some suggestions of what we could do differently. And I was showing him our website and I'm like, yep, I agree. One of the things that he mentioned was that it's ironic that the awards show rewards people for being perfect to style, but the whole idea behind craft is to be creative. And so like he's like, you guys kind of need two tracks. And I'm like, that's exactly what we added this year.
Yeah.
So but the communication challenge is that's the hard part.
Yeah. Well, all those mean people, they listen to this show. So this is your platform.
That's
That's why
awesome.
Oh shit.
You've gathered them all in one place, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
Great.
Anya, I want to give you a chance to talk some more.
Um,
Like we've hinted at the innovations in the Brewing Awards,
mhm.
and you're obviously very excited about them. Let's just take a minute to talk about why the Brewing Awards are awesome, and I want Anya to have her piece.
Interesting. Well, I'm not much of a talker. I'm more of a listener, but whatever you want to know, I'll tell you.
Okay, well, I mean, Obie mentioned that there's a new stream, and I've actually seen some of your influencers talk about this innovative or creative bent that you're bringing to the table this year. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so as Obie mentioned, Canadian Brewing Awards previously did not encourage a lot of innovations because the beers are usually judged very strictly to style. And if you're off style, no matter how amazing your beer is, the judges just can't give you a gold. And I've seen this at judging happening. And that's why we decided to do a creative category, which is basically if your beer is not to style, which is a lot of beers are, and they're still amazing. You are able to submit it into the creative category. Just tell us what the concept is that you're going for. And then the judges will be judging it based on the concept or execution of the concept rather than a rigid style guideline that you might not fit into.
Hmm.
So this was an innovation that was really, really loved by influencers. We were surprised that that's the one talking point that they kind of everybody started talking about it. But I do understand why. It's because there's a lot of really cool breweries who unfortunately are not able to enter because they just don't brew to style.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you think like do they have to stipulate what they're brewing before they send it in? Or do you think
I mean,
like the cynical part of me is again like we brewed this hot bomb, it didn't turn out, but it kind of went like this. Let's say this was the concept and entered in the creative. Like, yes, it's supposed to have chunks in it. Like
okay. Haven't seen that in our applications yet, but yeah,
okay.
I guess we'll
It's
deal with that.
ultra hazy. Yeah.
Ultra hazy, maybe. No, I think it's just I think breweries know the concept that they're going for, and they know exactly how they want that beer to turn out, and it's just off style. So entering into the creative, there's actually a lot of cool beers that I saw at judging. I think all of us were there when there was Sour Patch Kids. Obie,
Hmm.
do you remember? Everybody loved that beer, but doesn't
Yeah,
it
our
fit in
team
style?
loved that one. Yeah.
You like that one?
Yeah, I love the Sour Patch Kids one, but yeah.
There was a cool
No.
beer. Don't hate me for this. I personally really loved it. It was with a mushroom. I think the flavor
Oh,
was mushroom. And
oh.
they actually added mushrooms into it. I thought it was really good, but it just
I've never
wasn't.
had a mushroom beer.
Yeah,
Chris, have you
Chris?
had? Oh yeah, he's
It
had a
was
mushroom.
homebrew, but it was mushroomed. Yeah. I think it fell under the specialty category for BJCP.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then and the thing is, how do you choose, just three winners for that? And then what happens, like all the other beers that could be exceptional, like how do you get three people to like decide that? It's doesn't, because you get a panel of three, and then maybe you can do a best of show with a bigger panel for that. But
It's an
it just doesn't make
ambiguous
sense.
category because what if there's like, let's say like a really creative porter and a really creative sour, and like both of them are good, but the judge that gets to judge that category doesn't like sours, then what?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's why the creative category is there.
Yeah, we want to get the descriptions, mostly like accurate descriptions, so that we can provide marketing materials through our app and online or otherwise, and then provide it to influencers that might want to try that. Yeah, like that's mainly what we want out of the creative category. It's to just promote, the true. Thank you so much. Just saying bye to Ross here, but yeah, that's what we want. We want more data coming through the competition, so that we can provide a scalable channel for breweries. That's where we keep coming back to that tech ecosystem, where now that you have that rich description coming out of judging, and you get to know what people think about it, if you're going to decide, if your team's going to decide what they're going to bring to a festival, now you have more than just what you think about your beer to come out there, and then on your website, or on
Yeah.
your can, and so on.
So historically, or I guess maybe it's only recently, but like we have seen a lot of breweries that just don't bother entering awards. Like I would argue some of the best breweries in Canada are just over awards. Like I'll name Bellwood's Brewery. It's just they used to enter awards, and then they're like, "Fuck this, we know we're good. We don't need this."
Yeah, I don't think
So
Godspeed's ever in 7 years entered an award.
right. So there's
No,
probably
Godspeed entered us, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
I'm pretty sure I've seen it speak,
Yeah.
but
maybe Bim
I'm
just says
checking our
that. He just wants
database.
to tell you that.
I've been told that. Bim hasn't told me that. Yeah.
Well, okay, but
Obie-
but Bellwoods, I'm pretty sure. But like, if your goal now is to collect data on the best beer in Canada to build your app and your database, how would you pitch those breweries that are like, we don't fucking need to do this. We sell enough beer, or we know we make good beer. What's the pitch to the breweries?
I mean, there is no pitch, man.
Okay.
If you sell enough beer, you don't want to enter, and you don't like what we're doing, like you don't think that the tech ecosystem and whatever we're doing isn't for you, then just don't enter. I mean, we don't.
Okay, I like it.
Well, what am I gonna tell them? Like, no, you have to, like, our platform's the best and our awards is the best. Like, no, I mean, I'm more than happy to just create I want to solve a pain point. So if the smaller
Right.
breweries are like, we need more marketing so that we can get into venues or get consumers buying our beers more, can you build something for us? Can you build awards around that? Perfect. I'm happy. I just want to solve problems, and like wherever the problems are, you point to it, and our team's interested in doing that. But if you're saying that you sell enough beer, great. All right.
Nice. Okay. Well, I like that answer.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a
Great.
question about the app, the better beer or best beer or whatever?
Yeah, yeah.
What's the revenue model there? At risk of sounding like this is Dragon's Den.
For sure. I mean, I think, okay, so some components of it I'm going to leave out, because I think a lot of people are trying to crack this. As you know, we do have some competition,
Yeah, I mean, like you
and
said, Untappd has cracked it to the tune of 33 million last year, I think, or
yeah, and I
2023.
think as you know, the reward space is kind of drying up with the current model, and yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But the revenue model is, I think it comes down to just building out good tech. I think it's building good technology and extracting useful data that consumers care about. And I think that that's going to be the winning move. I think also there's somewhat of a shift happening currently, where there's more opportunities, I think, on the venue side. So maybe my gut tells me like maybe it's not about just selling stuff to breweries and profiting off of them. Like, I mean, there's more opportunity for retailers, let's say in Ontario, to, you know, open up. Because from what I've heard, the beer store is totally divested out of that, and they're interested in going into recycling and distribution. So now, because of the master framework agreement being up, there's more opportunity for bottle shops and retailers, and I think they're going to want to know what consumers want, and I think that we're going to be the ones with that data. So, and
Say no
also
more.
too,
Say no more. I understand.
But it's
also
yeah, there you
if
go.
you think about it, Untappd is also like, I gotta show you guys, because I hate talking about stuff. I'm more of like, I want to show you rather than tell you. But if you look at Untappd, for example, I don't want to be compared to Untappd, but if you do look at their business model, they sell tap lists effectively. Like you're, as a brewery, you can.
They do retail interfaces for breweries and venues, mostly
Right.
venues.
Right. And so that's something that I think we could do pretty well as well. And we've been demoing some of the stuff that we kind of like hacked together. I'm gonna show it to you guys, you know, off, like, once we get off camera here, I'll show you guys a live demo of like what our tech can do. And you can do the math on that side, and you just think about the data that we have. For example, on Untappd, half of the beers I don't even think have descriptions, because a lot of their content's user generated. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work to be done in the space, and it's not a sexy time where people want to throw a bunch of money at these problems. So that's what I'm interested in. And do I think it's going to 100% work? No, but I think it will be a lot of fun. And if I'm going to fail, failure is always a possibility. So if you're going to fail, you might as well do it at something you're interested in, you know? And so I'm interested in this.
Nice.
I'm curious about it.
So
Cool.
when the read between the lines is like, you're not ready to give away everything yet, but when will
Right.
people know more about, like, when's your public launching, or when can people dig in to learn more?
Well, Ben, you and Chris will know, because I will be inviting you guys to the early access. Anyone that's promoting craft, or I feel like gives a shit about craft and they want to put in extra effort to like promote craft, I'm your best guy, because I'm gonna make sure that you got all the best beers and all the cool tech and so on. So I'm serious. After this, I'm gonna invite you guys to the.
I'm a size medium. I drink lagers. I only fly first class. Nah.
Yeah, like, so you guys will know, and you guys are gonna help me make sure that this product is not a gimmick. Like, it's a really cool thing. I'm not gonna do it alone. You guys are gonna help me make it great. And then when I feel like it's ready, I'm in no rush to, you know, get everyone on planet Earth using it if it's a shit product. I want to make sure that I put it in the hands of people that I know care, and then once we feel like it's ready, then kind of put it out there after. So hopefully at the gala, though, June 7th. That's the stake in the ground.
June 7th. Okay. Well, it's clear you've got lofty ambitions. I'm definitely gonna be watching, because you're saying a lot of interesting things, Obie, and I want to see what happens.
Well, Ben, I'm gonna show you, and this part I'm gonna record myself. So this part's recorded for you. After your stuff is, you're not recording anymore, I'm gonna walk over and show you a demo. I'll share my screen and I'll show you a demo, and I want to see your live reaction.
Okay.
So
okay. Well, I guess we'll wrap up for the public. We'll
Yeah.
wrap up because we've
Okay.
been an hour, and I am conscious no one wants to listen to people talk about beer much more than an hour. That's what I've learned in podcasting.
Okay,
We're going to the request room for the Patreons.
Yeah,
Ben,
yeah. You
Ben, we got to make an agreement though. If I show you some cool stuff,
yeah, you'll hear the recording stop. Don't worry. I'm not interested in blowing up your spot or anything. I don't make it. Oh.
I don't care about that. I'm saying you now have to become loyal to the cause. If I show you.
Oh man, I'm not swearing allegiance to anyone. Fuck that.
Well,
You'll get my honest opinion. That's all I can offer.
All right, honest opinion. All right, Chris, can I at least get your endorsement if I show you?
Certainly, if it earns my endorsement. That's how my endorsements normally work.
All right, done. All right, you know what? I'll show you guys then. So the recording's off.
No, it isn't yet. We have to say goodbye.
You'll hear it. You'll hear it. Okay, so that's the end of our show.
All right.
Chris and I have been, I think, sworn to secrecy, but thank you for Anya. Thanks for being on the show. Obie, it was nice to meet you. I'm
Good
gonna
meeting you
stop the
guys.
recording. We're gonna see secret things that we can't tell you about.
Yep.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We're going into secret mode.